This time on the second episode of our ACES EFI install, we do some wiring and get our fuel system pretty much dialed in. Or the power wire, so. Alright, so next step is going to be, we got to tackle some of this wiring. So, we got this whole mess of harness here. My thought is the computer is going to sit here. And basically everything else is going to tie in somewhere in that vicinity with the horn somewhere here. Probably Ace did not plan on somebody putting the computer this far forward in their engine bay, but Jeep engine bay is not very big. It's pretty small, and I don't have enough lead off of here to get over, literally just running through the firewall up over to my battery for the power wire. So would have been nice to not just drop my computer off down in there. Okay, it didn't go far. And have enough wire to not have to splice the runs over there. But you gotta do what you gotta do. All right, so this is where we're at. Pretty pleased with it. Got a little bit of a safety loop built into each of these. Kind of my thought is, I don't know if it really matters, but obviously weather packs have a little bit of play in them. So to keep a little bit of tension on the wire here, kind of keeps everything pushed together. I don't know, may not mean anything. As you can see, pretty clean little will be install there. Everything is nut certed now. These tie wraps here, and I'll go grab one off the workbench. I really like using these. They're pretty sweet little deals. I got them off Amazon, but basically all they are is a barbed fixed end zip tie. So literally drill a hole, pop it in, curl that around, and now you've got kind of a nice little stay for your wires or whatnot. You can route everything really clean with these. Pretty sweet. This escalated pretty quickly. Back when I did the HEI swap for the distributor, I also did another bypass and actually removed the ignition box out of the inner fender on that side. So all of this and this harness that runs through the firewall right here that feeds the old smog computer and all that is absolutely obsolete. I was so tired of seeing that stuff on the firewall, and with running all this new wiring, it just makes sense to get rid of all this stuff. So before we go any further, I'm going to make sure that I get as much of this stuff as I can that I know absolutely is not going to work out of here. And then we can get back to our regularly scheduled programming. So bought this kit for the air cleaner to kind of remedy that. Cheapy deal off Amazon. I just am going to go out there and say I do not like it, but could not find anything I wanted locally and get it here by this weekend, which I'm hoping to be able to fire this thing at some point this weekend. So definitely needed an air cleaner. Didn't want to stack a bunch of spacers, and honestly, I don't even know where my old air filter is. The spine for my Clifford valve cover here, this is basically just a tensioner for the center, because I had an issue where the middle of this was actually bowed. You could sit it on a table and there was air gap right here in the middle. Somehow, some way, but I always had a leak. So I made this to basically tension the center down before putting in the rest of the perimeter bolts. And it works very well. It did straighten it up and does not leak anymore. But it had a little spine in the middle of it, like a little swoop-de-doo thing. Obviously, you can see that is not gonna work. And I did, I believe, get it pretty well adjusted for it shooting right through there and then missing the dipstick tube. And then another thing that I noticed, which I thought was absolutely hilarious, the bottom of the filter literally was not even attached. I have the other filter, I'm gonna run it. Just thought that was funny. Definitely one of those deals you get what you pay for, but like I said, my ideal plan was going to be make what I was just showing you with a carb cap, like a storage cap, and then actually just welding a flange or a 90-degree tube off the back and having it come just straight over off this side over here, basically kind of just in line with the brake booster. Just didn't work out. I couldn't get one until like the end of next week, and I really didn't want to wait till the end of next week. So this was $60 and here's the finished project on that. Pretty pleased with it. Had to shorten the tube up a bit. Still kept my pre-filter from my old filter that I had. Snake's pretty nice. I'm pretty pleased with it so far. Also managed to get all the wiring tied up, super clean. And this was my finished result over here for the sensor wiring. Got it tied off on the inner fender center panel. Everything else run very clean. Man, that is so much better than what I had. And for now, I may leave it. I was not aware that this actually had GPS and miles per hour built in, which is kind of neat because my tire size is off, but this may be where that screen sits. I've got my tech rack, so I would need to move it a little bit for my phone mount, but I think I like it up here. Pretty cool deal. Yeah. Sweet. So the idea here is I want to make a plate to hold all of this and utilize where my younger, not so smart self drilled and bolted my sliders into the frame, and now I've got 4 holes. So we're going to utilize these top two is the thought, and then it'll have a lip that breaks back over, and all of these components will go up in the top of the frame rail like so. Try to keep them out of harm's way. I may come back and make like a 3/16 skid down here at the bottom just to kind of keep anything else, but that's the plan for right now. Got it drawn, so we will get it cut. Here's the end result. So I honestly have not even fit this to see if I literally just laid it up there, but that ought to go pretty nice. I slotted all these holes just in the event that if I ever end up running any different components or need a little wiggle room, I've got that. And then you can see it'll actually be flipped over. So that goes to the motor. This goes to the tank. Got the return off of this side of the regulator. Should be a pretty sweet little deal. Another thing I thought about, in the event I have an issue with any of this on the trail, I can easily just drop a hose, and then unbolt this whole assembly and work on it on the tailgate or at the trailer or whatever. It's not, I'm not hemmed up by like being laying on a rock or something and having to finagle with all this in the dirt. So thought that was a nice idea as well. These mounting holes needed a little opening up, and just a little tip. If you ever have stuff that you're worried about drilling through with a drill bit, just stick you a piece of steel underneath. Could be some common sense, but nice little thing that I try to do if I have the room. Obviously sometimes you don't have the ability, but if you have the ability to kind of back that with something to where when you punch through it hits something else, that's a nice little thing to do there. And just like that, we're all buttoned up. It is wired. I've got the ground off of it right now because I don't have the rest of my lines ran, so I didn't want to fire the pump and get a bunch of air, but bracket worked out really well. I'm pretty pleased with how everything's routed. Well, that is going to wrap up the weekend. I did not get it fired, so y'all are going to have to come back for that video. I was short one fitting that I needed on the return line side. So I've got fittings on the way. They'll be here Tuesday. As I'm sure you can hear, we're getting some rain today, and it has turned very chilly here in Alabama. So obviously got the hoodie on. Gonna go inside, enjoy the rest of my Sunday, and we'll see y'all on the next one.